Hey, how's it going? Thanks so much for the comments and suggestions on the last video. I have a bunch of even crazier Reddit stories to read, as well as an Enderman farm to build, and it's been a while since I've built one, so go easy on me. But let's read some drama and judge some people. This post is a little bit old, but it feels a bit timeless. So, let's get into it here. My fiance dumped me on Tuesday. Today, she tells me she wants the apartment to herself tomorrow for her Valentine's Day date. The guy posting this is 26, and the fiance is 25 and female. Okay, he writes, I'll try to keep this short because I'm so stunned, I think I've stopped being able to process things. I've been with my fiance for 4 years. We've been engaged since last year and actively are planning the wedding. Last month, we moved to a new city across the country because my fiance got an amazing job offer. I wasn't happy about it since I had to quit my job, and all our family friends were in the city we left. I was kind of being a jerk during the moving process, but I've come around since getting here. My fiance kept talking about this guy, late 20s maybe, she worked with at her new job, and it was making me uneasy. I went to a few after work events where he showed up, and he seemed like a total asshole. Very full of himself, artistic type. I didn't like the way he interacted with my fiance, and we would occasionally fight about it. Tuesday night, she got home really late, sat me down, and broke up with me. She said she felt an immediate bond with this coworker that's stronger than anything she's ever felt before. This from the woman who just a few months ago I held in my arms while we were watching the stars, as she told me she's never felt more at peace than when she's beside me. I laid awake on the couch all night feeling like I was continually being punched in the stomach. I didn't fall asleep until 3 p.m. yesterday, and stayed asleep until this morning when she woke me up. Basically, she's having this asshole over for Valentine's Day, and demanded she get the apartment to herself. Between the move, all the deposits we'd been putting down on wedding stuff, and not having a job since we moved out here, I have literally no money for a hotel or anything else. We got into a big fight because I called her out and said she knew I had nowhere else to go. She said that's not her problem. She's done solving my problems for me, and I needed to fix this one on my own. I guess his roommate is having a date over, so my fiance offered our place for her date with the asshole. She says this is happening no matter what I say. So yeah, what am I supposed to do? I mean, this one is so bad that it it seems fake. We treat all of these stories as if they are real. We are just going to trust the source and approach them as they are real. If this is true, I mean, this is just like an awful situation, and I feel really bad for this guy. I mean, he admits that he was maybe not great about initially moving out, but he came around, and he's made a lot of sacrifices for his fiance here. And she's completely hanging him out to dry in a new city and just like rubbing it in. This is obviously, we're all going to agree this is completely not right. I mean, he's not saying it, but obviously this poster got cheated on by his fiance. That relationship with her coworker had more than likely been going on for a couple months before she brought it up and broke up with this poster. It sounds like maybe there's like other tension outside of this situation that this poster is leaving out of the story for it to even like get to this point, but nothing excuses breaking up with your fiance and then immediately having your new boyfriend over for Valentine's Day in your apartment with your fiance and trying to kick them out. Absolutely not. Completely wrong. The policy here is that if you're breaking up with your fiance and you have a new boyfriend, find somewhere else to celebrate Valentine's Day. Don't just insist that your sad ex-fiance needs to leave your apartment because you get to celebrate Valentine's Day with your new boyfriend. Absolutely not. I think this guy just needs to stay in the apartment. Like, he doesn't need to leave. It's his apartment too. Just don't leave. Like, you're in the right. Just stay in the apartment during their Valentine's Day. It might be weird, but, like, obviously don't leave. They'll probably, if you don't leave, if you insist on not leaving, they'll probably just find somewhere else to go anyways. All right, so this guy came back a year later and posted an update. So let's go ahead and read that here and find out how this whole situation turned out. I've spent the last year working very hard to improve myself. Now that it's Valentine's Day again, I was thinking about the dark place I was in last year. I didn't have the strength to post an update back then, but now that I've had some time to heal, I wanted to let everyone know how I'm doing. Part of the reason I didn't update afterward was because I was extremely embarrassed how things turned out. It's only because of some intense therapy that I'm able to be honest and okay with telling this story. Basically, I decided to make one last big attempt at winning her back. Right after we got engaged, my ex had a close relative succumb to a lifelong illness. This relative was very happy that she lived long enough to see us get engaged. When my ex was a child, this relative had given my ex a charm that she wore all the time. A few months after that relative died, my ex lost the charm, and it was like the relative died a second time. As we packed up the apartment to move to our new city, I found the charm. Rather than give it back immediately, I decided that I would keep it in a safe place and surprise my ex with it at our wedding. I thought it would be a meaningful way to include this relative in a moment where she would be deeply missed. Somehow, I got it in my head that if I showed her the charm on Valentine's Day, she'd remember everything that we had shared, and I could cut through whatever fog she was caught up in. I was under the impression that my ex would come home from work by herself to get ready for her date. I was planning to use this alone time to give her the charm and either win her back or lose decisively and leave before her date showed up. But instead, she showed up with the asshole from her job. That threw me through a big loop, and it was incredibly awkward. He was patronizing. She became livid that I stole her charm. I struggled to articulate myself. It was the most embarrassed I've ever been. I got out of there and literally walked around all night until it got so cold I couldn't stand it anymore. I went back to the apartment building around 4 a.m. and in what was a personal low point, fell asleep in the hallway outside of our apartment. But that was the low point. There have been some high points since then. I was able to move back to my hometown, and my old employer gave me my old job back. I even met someone else, and we've dated for a while. We just broke up, though. It sucks to be alone again on Valentine's Day, but I've learned it's okay to be sad every once in a while. And compared to this last year, this year's practically been a celebration. Therapy gave me a wonderful perspective on life, and some great coping skills for when times get difficult. As for my ex, I heard she married the asshole guy from work. Her sister would text me occasionally, and apparently her family hates the guy. Whatever, not my problem anymore. And then he just goes on to thank Reddit for the help. This situation really sucks. I'm glad that this poster got through it. It seems like a year later, he's so much healthier. He's in a much better headspace about the whole situation. It just really sucks that you don't find out someone is toxic in your life until it's too late. When you're living with a significant other and the relationship ends, and there's that period where you have to live together still, but move out and start separate lives, there needs to be a level of unspoken respect for each other's space and new lives that you're beginning. That it's really this girl was not giving to this guy. It really just seems like there was a lack of respect here for this poster. And I mean, he wasn't going to salvage their relationship with that charm, it seems like. But she really should have had the decency to let her ex have the apartment and not parade her new boyfriend around in front of him. This poor guy slept outside the apartment. But I'm glad this guy made it through to the other side. Let's go ahead and move on to the next story here. Okay, this next one caught my eye with a bit of a clickbait title, but it seems pretty good. I've skimmed it a little bit, so let's check it out. Just a quick note here for this one. There's a minor mention of the thought of potential domestic violence. So if that's something that bothers you, you've been warned. I'm a somewhat popular YouTuber. My wife deleted my recordings because she has never seen me cry, and I'm unemotional. Okay, so the guy posting is 28 years old and a popular YouTuber apparently, and his wife is a 27-year-old. Okay, this YouTuber writes, "First of all, please don't ask me who I am and my YouTube alias. I want to keep this anonymous. Anne and I have been married for 9 months. We've been together for 3 years. Our relationship has been pretty smooth, and I love her to bits. However, we have a big personality clash. We've lived with it in the past, but it's affected her more than it's affected me. I'm more of a keep it all in guy, and I prefer to deal with my issues by myself. She, on the other hand, talks about her issues with me, and we work through them together. I've always been a little cold. Maybe steely is a better word. I'm not too emotional. Not that that's a good or bad thing, it's just the way that I am. My wife and I were forced to put down our dog recently. He was my dog before we met, but became a big part of our family. She loved the hell out of that dog, and I did too. When I lived abroad for a year, he kept her company, and she was very close to him. So we came back from the vet, and she was crying the whole way. I was feeling really sad, but I wasn't really showing it. She asked me why I wasn't feeling sad. I told her that I was. She started screaming at me for not having feelings, being inhuman, and me being cold, and her being scared of me for that. I told her that I cannot force myself to cry, and I was feeling terrible inside. We got home and she went off about how I'm barely human and I'm basically an automaton. She then went on and on about how she has never seen me cry. Not when we had broken up, 1.5 years into our relationship, not when my mother died, not when I was leaving for a year to work abroad. I told her that me crying doesn't solve anything and she should quit bothering me, and then I went to bed. Next morning, I wake up and decide to edit some videos that I want to upload. I work from home and I have one main computer to work from. It has 3 hard drives. The first one is my OS drive, and the other 2 have recordings on them. I wake up to find the other 2 completely wiped. I freak out and irrationally think that it might have been some software thing. I try and see what the cause was, but I can't figure out anything. I had put so much work into recording these videos. So much effort had gone into them. I broke down. The only recordings I had backed up were from 2 months ago. I'm sobbing hard and I just feel pathetic. I'd lost so much of my work and I couldn't figure out how. My wife then comes in and sees me. I tell her what happened, and she tells me that she did it. She wanted to see me cry and didn't know how else to make it happen. She's happy she got to see me and some part of me that's human. She tells me it was healthy for me to let my emotions out. I swear to God, that's the first time I ever wanted to hit her. I packed up a few things, laptop, phone, got in the car, and told her that I'll call her when I'm ready. I'm staying with a buddy of mine now, and I need to figure this shit out. She was all apologetic and loving when I was leaving and acting confused. I feel nothing but hatred towards her now. But I need to be tactful in handling this situation. Help me figure it out. Immediately, I'm super curious who this YouTuber is. Apparently, they are somewhat popular. However, what I didn't mention earlier is that this post is from 2015. So that's the information we're working off of. We're working off of a YouTuber that is somewhat popular from 2015. But I do understand our YouTuber here from an emotional perspective. I mean, I'm also one of these people that isn't really a crier. I have emotions, but crying is usually not how I show them. It gets harped on a bit endlessly, but as guys, we're kind of taught that crying is a show of weakness, and so it's not usually how I go about my emotions. But I would absolutely be furious if someone deleted my video files. I work really hard on my videos. and if someone didn't understand why I wasn't acting emotional and then chose to delete my files, I would be very upset. I mean, pretty simply, this is spousal destruction of property. Even though it's just data, it's just video files. Deleting someone's video files is destroying their property, especially if it's their source of income. I think this guy is obviously very justified to be really upset. I think he did the right thing separating himself. If he's having, a violent thought, he did the right thing separating himself, and then obviously the next step is to, seek therapy about that if that's where your thoughts are going. He is justified to be incredibly upset at his wife for doing this to him. I think this is an issue that you can work through in a healthy relationship, though. At the beginning of that story, the poster said that they love each other very much, and people make mistakes. This is a pretty bad one, but this is a pretty bad one as far as mistakes go. But people do make mistakes, and if you love them, you have to forgive them. So, I think that this is something that you can work through. Obviously, it will take a whole lot of empathy on the part of the wife and forgiveness on the part of the husband. But there is an update here. Let's go ahead and read this. It is from a couple days later, so we will get some closure on this one, thankfully. A lot has happened. I'm not going to cover all the events over the past few days, but here's the most important stuff. I had a friend hook me up at a local store that specializes in data recovery. Proper recovery is expensive, but they said that since no data has been rewritten, it's possible. I'm waiting to hear from them tomorrow. I decided that I'm not going to ask for a divorce. What happened was bad, but it's not divorce worthy, and I want to give this a chance. I went back to my wife, and she was crying. It looked like she had been for a really long time. I went in, and she hugged me and cried even more, apologizing profusely. When she got a little more stable, we talked. She started saying that she understood how badly she had messed up. She said that I am well warranted to ask for a divorce. However, she said that she will never pull shit like this again, and that she doesn't want to spend the rest of her life in regret. She begged me for one last chance. Having had a wonderful relationship before this, I decided that I wanted to give her another chance. I asked her to explain why she did what she did. She said that first, Leo's death, Leo is the pet that they had, Leo's death really got to her. Second, she confessed that she always felt like the weaker one in the relationship. She felt completely alone when she cried. I made a mental note to comfort her better when she's a little emotional. But she said that she understood right now. And she said that she felt terrible to engage in such a power play, and that she understood that we're just different people. She told me she really regretted her actions and wanted one more chance to make it up to me. And we're getting an appointment tomorrow for marriage counseling. Well, I'm glad that they worked it out. I mean, this happened in 2015, so I guess hopefully they are still in a happy marriage and haven't had an incident like this since then. I think sometimes in these online spaces, people commenting are like a little too quick to jump to divorce or end the relationship as the main option. I think here was an instance where it was a pretty egregious mistake that the wife made, but it wasn't unfixable in a relationship that they had been very happy in before then. But that also might vary person to person. If you were in this poster's shoes, you might respond very differently, and it might mean divorce for you. I could see how someone would feel like they could never trust their spouse again if they were to do something like this. It's kind of crazy that this guy didn't cry when his mom died, but cried when his videos got deleted. Not to minimize the situation here. I just reread that and was like, wait a minute. You didn't cry when your mom died? But I think there was like a bit of a lack of trust on the part of the fiancé. I mean, the poster was telling her how he was feeling, and she just did not trust him or trust what he was saying was true with the way that he felt. It sounds like they were pretty early in their marriage, so I'm sure that's something that they built. And I mean, they went to marriage counseling, so that's really good too. I also hope that he ended up getting his videos back off that hard drive. I hope that the data recovery work. Can you do that? Can you just like have videos deleted and they come back? If you have any thoughts, let me know. Let's go ahead and move on to the next story here. Let me get this pulled up. So I actually did finish building the Enderman farm. But long story short, I lost the footage. Here's the Enderman farm. It's not much, but it is mine. This thing is actually a game changer. I can't hear myself think when I'm using it, but I mean, I have unlimited levels. So now I guess I'm going to get some mining done, because I have to do that. Oh my god, I cannot hit this slime. There we go. Anyways, back to the stories. Okay, here's one that's a little bit of a freebie, a little lighthearted, a little break between the heavy stuff. Okay. My girlfriend bought a motorcycle, and now she expects me to ride behind her. This guy is 25, and his girlfriend is 26. This poster is 25, I mean. All right, he writes, about 2 years ago, my girlfriend expressed the desire to ride a motorcycle. She enrolled in driving school and almost immediately bought a motorcycle with which she obtained her license. I supported her completely and also financially. The motorcycle was partially a gift from me. Last year, she went on many rides alone or with other bikers she met on some internet forums, and sometimes she tried to ride with her female friends behind her. Now that the warm season has arrived and she's been riding for almost 2 years, she started asking me to go out with her on her motorcycle. I told her that I have no problem riding a motorcycle, but that I find it embarrassing to ride directly behind her. We started arguing every day about this. How do I make her understand that in 2024, it's still a big stigma to ride behind a girl and that I don't feel like doing it? I really understand feeling this way, feeling caged by masculinity. And while this poster's feelings of not wanting to do this are valid, they're wrong. Man up and ride behind your girlfriend on her motorcycle, okay? First of all, your girlfriend sounds like a badass. And are you like really worried about the judgment of people you're driving by? I like maybe feeling judged by like friends or family, but that doesn't seem that bad to me here. And I mean, if it's a healthy relationship, I'm sure she does plenty of things for you that she doesn't really want to do, but she does them because it makes you happy. That's sort of the exchange in a relationship. You should be doing things for your significant other that are maybe a bit of a compromise, but make them happy. This one's pretty easy for me. I think that riding behind your girlfriend on a motorcycle is not a big deal. I'd do it. That would be fine with me. But I can get how it would be uncomfortable. But I think you should just compromise and make that happen. It seems like a lot of the internet tends to agree, because this guy got kind of raked over the coals in the comments. And so he provided an update with some additional context and a bit of a happy ending. So we'll go ahead and read that here. About a month ago, I asked for advice and received few but heavy criticisms. You were right. I admit that I didn't react in the best way. Your comments kept me up at night, and the next day I decided to talk to my girlfriend. Actually, I wrote something false. Not that it changes much, but I'm 34 and she's 35. Oh, what? Why lie? Okay. I also left out an important fact, something that not even my fiancé knew. This guy, write the whole story, my dude. In the country where I grew up, you have to be 18 to drive a car. No exceptions. But from 14 years old, you can ride a small moped. Everyone has at least one moped in the family. In my high school class, in my country, high school starts at 14, ends at 19. I was practically the only one who didn't have a moped. I'm not joking. Both my father and mother had a moped, but in their opinion, a moped was too dangerous for a little boy to ride. When my friends and I went out in the evening, I was the only one who had to be picked up by my parents. The others were all on their own mopeds. When I was 16, I was at a classmate's birthday party, and when the party ended, I saw my mother arrive to come pick me up with her moped. Apparently, my father had fallen asleep, she didn't want to wake him up, and she didn't want to drive the car, so she came to pick me up on a moped. I was livid, but I had no choice but to leave with her. This completely destroyed my teenage life. My nickname became Moped Boy, Mama Boy. Girls laughed at me, and boys made fun of me and bullied me. My social life was reduced to a few occasions, and the last 2 years of high school, 18 to 19, were spent in total solitude, since even on the few social occasions I came out, I was still made fun of. I met my girlfriend after university. Fortunately, she came from another city and didn't know anything. I told my girlfriend about the story. She remained silent for a moment and then hugged me. The following weekend, we went to the beach. She insisted on sitting on a bench in front of the motorbike parking lot. We counted the couples arriving by scooter and motorbike, and 1/3 had a woman in the front and a man sitting in the back. Maybe it was a bit of a silly experiment, but it worked. Last weekend, we took our first little trip of our own on her motorcycle. I feel like a huge weight has been lifted from my soul. My girlfriend finally asked me if I want a motorbike too. I thought about it for a few days, but I think I'm happy like this. My girlfriend seemed happy. Look at that happy ending. We love that. I'm really glad that this guy finally came around to riding behind his girlfriend on a motorcycle. That's great. Honestly, this just speaks to how much damage being bullied in high school can do. I completely empathize with being bullied for completely pointless things. I mean, this guy's in his mid-30s and is still thinking about stuff and being affected by trauma from his youth. Now, I will admit, Moped Boy is a pretty funny nickname. I like if, as far as being bullies concerned, Moped Boy doesn't seem that bad, but okay. I can get like if nobody's talking to you and they're just calling you Moped Boy every time you show up somewhere, I get it. That would suck. That would really suck. But it sounds like he got to the right answer eventually. That's crazy that he just decided that he didn't even want a bike for himself. He just wants to ride behind his girlfriend. That's great. Let's move on to the next one. My professor has been secretly docking points anytime he sees someone's phone out. Dozens of us are now at risk of failing just because we kept our phones on our desk, and I might lose the job I have lined up for when I graduate. My professor recently revealed that he's been docking points anytime he sees anyone with their cell phone out during the lecture, even if it's just lying on their desk and they're not using it. He's docked more than 20 points for me alone. And I don't even text during the lectures. I just keep my phone face down on my desk out of habit. It's late in the semester and I'm at risk of failing the class, having to pay thousands of dollars that I can't afford for another semester and potentially lose the job I have lined up for when I graduate. I talked to my professor and he just smiled and referred me to a single sentence buried in a 5-page syllabus that says, cell phones should not be visible during lectures. He's never called attention to it or said anything about the rule. He looked so smug, like he'd just won a court case instead of just screwing a random struggling college kid with a contrived loophole. So far I have 1, tried speaking to the professor, 2, tried submitting a complaint through my school's grade appeal system. It was denied without explanation, and there doesn't seem to be any way to appeal. And 3, I've tried speaking with the department head, but he doesn't seem to care. Literally just said, that's why it's important to read the syllabus. I feel like I'm out of options and I don't know what to do. This is a really serious situation, and I feel really bad for this poster. Every once in a while in your life, you just run into these people, whether it be a professor, a teacher, a boss, that is just like so power hungry and just like relishes in wielding their power over you. There's an update to this post, but just my initial reaction to this before I read that is that there has to be more that you can do in this scenario. I know it feels like all of your options, all of this poster's options are exhausted. It seems like everyone they're talking to is supporting the professor, but there have to be people at this school that you can talk to, that you can appeal through in order to show what this professor is doing is wrong. You can't just take points away from someone without telling them. I know it's in the syllabus, but you need to notify people. You can't just be like setting a trap for your students to walk into. They're not actually learning anything. The idea of of school is to actually learn something and not just like secretly have points taken away from you in class because your phone's out. That feels ridiculous. Okay, so here's the update several days later, April 26th of this year. I emailed the dean and the school newspaper. No response. I know that at least 2 other students in my class tried emailing the dean as well without any luck. But I ran the math and I'm guaranteed to fail this class if the deductions stand. I have nothing to lose. So I wrote a petition. No one has taken this seriously coming from us individually. So I think it's important that I show it's not just a couple of disgruntled college kids whining about a bad grade. My plan, if I can get signatures, is to send the petition to the dean and the school newspaper. I hit a small snag when I reached out to 5 classmates that I trust about signing the petition to get the ball rolling. They all thought it was a great idea, but didn't feel comfortable being the first people to sign it. So to get around that, someone in the last thread suggested using a website that lets me make it so that the signatures start out anonymous and then unanonymize when enough people sign. That way, no one has to be the first person to sign. But then I hit another major snag. As I was getting ready to send the petition out, my professor sent us all an email attaching an amended syllabus. The amended syllabus is exactly the same, except now has a paragraph which says, all grade disputes must be raised exclusively through the grade appeal system. Any attempt to dispute a grade through alternative channels, including but not limited to direct outreach to other faculty other than this professor, will result in an will result in an automatic failing grade of 0% without exception. What? That's absurd. He continues. Welp, I thought that was the end of it. No one would be interested in signing after that. Surprisingly, 3 of the people I spoke to independently messaged me asking if I was still going through with the petition and promised they would sign it if I did. They're pissed. They think this new policy is retaliatory. Yeah, of course it is. And then 3 other people I hadn't even talked to reached out about this and said that when they heard I was planning to send a petition, they would absolutely sign it. And they think a bunch of others would too. They wouldn't tell me who they heard about the petition from, but the cat's out of the bag now. I'm not sure exactly how many others have had their grade docked because of this policy, but from asking around, it seems like half the class had some kind of deduction. Now I have to decide how to proceed in light of this updated syllabus. I'm considering going through with the petition, but having the app make it fully anonymous so that we have some plausible deniability. The final result would only say the number out of 50 people in the class who signed it, but not who. I've been looking around for another update to this post, but I don't see one. So I think we're just stuck with where it is right now. This idea of a petition and getting your classmates to sign it, I think is really smart. I think there's strength in numbers. And I think if you it seems like no one is accepting reason at this school. And so you need to show how many people are behind you and how BS this policy is. You can't be playing with people's educations like this. I do think that if enough people sign this petition, either the administration or the professor will come around eventually. Like, they have to be reasonable about this eventually. Maybe I'm being way too optimistic, but I hope for the sake of this person that they do come around once they get enough signatures, because I don't see people in the class not wanting to sign this petition. It's a ridiculous policy that should never have been implemented in the first place. And the amended policy, like updating the syllabus at the very end of the semester with an updated phone policy, first of all, just shows that you know you're in the wrong if you're the professor. And second off, is so petty and dumb. Like, just let people have the points. Don't fail people for your own personal pleasure. I think if enough students are trying to talk to the administration about this problem, I think they'll be forced to react in some sort of way and make a decision on it. And the professor is not going to want their reputation ruined over this. And the administration doesn't want their school's reputation damaged either. This post just gives me nightmares about being in school. I'm really glad that my school days are over. But if you're still in it, stick with it. You're almost through. And if you just recently graduated, congratulations. Let's just all be glad that this guy wasn't our professor. Okay, for our last story, we've got an Am I the Asshole? So let's finish on a strong one. Am I the asshole for refusing to go to my in-laws for Christmas this year and booking a flight to see my family instead? This poster is a 23-year-old female, and her husband is a 25-year-old male, by the way. Okay, she writes, me and my husband agreed to an arrangement when we got married that we would take turns spending Christmas with our families. One year his family, the next year mine, and then his again, etc. For context, before I explain, his family are nice enough, but they are highly emotional and quite manipulative people. His mom and sister mainly, and can be quite overbearing. We have to go to his home every Sunday for lunch and spend the whole day with him and them. One time we missed it because I didn't want to go. I was feeling lazy. He told his mom and she sent me a horrible text saying I'm unappreciative. Also for context, his mom has been sick. She had a small heart attack last September. I'm sympathetic, but she's been fine since then. Also for context, I am from a different country and am living with him in his home country. My family are all still in my home country. We got married 2 years ago, And the first year we spent Christmas with his family. His mom insisted that we go to theirs first. Last year we were supposed to both spend it with my family. I knew they would cause problems, as expected. At the beginning of December, he went to see his family one day without me, and when he came back, he said that we couldn't spend Christmas with my family. He said that his mom was ill, and there's a chance that she won't be around next Christmas. I was concerned, obviously, but he said nothing had changed with her condition, and the heart attack was just really scary. In the end, we both ended up staying with his family again for Christmas. I was really excited to go see my family this year. We live in his home country, so I rarely get to see my family. Okay, so fast forward to this year. His mom is fine, and we're talking about Christmas. He asked me why I was looking at flights, and that it was his family's turn to have us at Christmas. I said no, we were there last year. But he was saying yes, we were, but it's the third year, so technically it's his family's turn. Because we were meant to go to my family's last year, but we didn't. And that's not his or his family's fault. I said no, I only did that because I wanted to spend Christmas with him, and that his mom was sick, and that this year it was my family's turn. We argued, and in the end, I went ahead and booked a flight home for Christmas. I told him that if he doesn't want to go, then okay, I will be going without him. Anyone else build an ore obelisk when you're done mining? Just me? Okay. All right. I mean, listen, you live overseas, away from your family. You got to go see your family. And if the agreement was to do every other Christmas, and you've done 2 Christmases in the same place, this poster was being a supportive spouse and being there for her mother-in-law when she was having a heart attack. So she spent a second Christmas there. I think it's not a stretch to say that she's not the asshole for wanting to go home and see her family for the 3rd Christmas. We've been talking about compromise today, and I mean, I think this is a good example of of being uncompromising in a good way. But I mean, the poster compromised last year and stayed home for the 2nd Christmas in a row. Now it is the husband's turn to compromise and go overseas and visit her family. It doesn't matter that it's like still the off year in the count, so it's technically his family's year. That's weird that he's looking for technicalities like that to just stay with his family. It does sound like she really hates her in-laws. And that's fine. That's, that's pretty normal. But they also sound fairly manipulative. I do feel bad for the mother-in-law having had a heart attack. That's terrible. But if she's recovered well, then it should be this poster's turn to be able to go home to her family for Christmas. And her husband should go with her. And if he doesn't want to go with her, then he shouldn't feel bad for her leaving. That's it for today, but if you watch this to the end, subscribe so I get a little hit of dopamine. All right, I'll see you next time.